You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Weird Science Comics YouTube channel, where I'm going to be reviewing Amazing Spider-Man number 25. Hey, I know that every story is going to have its fans and its detractors, but I was a bit shocked at the amount of people who came out to me in support of Zeb Wells and this yarn he's spinning. I agree that the Tombstone stuff earlier on was pretty cool, but to me, everything else has been meh at best and, well, pretty infuriating at its worst. And there's been a lot of worse. However, unlike a lot of books that I'm reading right now and reviewing from the big two, the infuriating part isn't just one thing that I can put my thumb on and say things like, well, if only the dialogue was better, or with a different artist, this would have been pretty good. It's actually worse than that. This book has just become so damn depressing to read. And the weird part is it seems like Zeb Wells, Nick Lowe, and Marvel in general want it that way. I don't get it, but here we go. Let's get into this right after I ask everybody to subscribe to the channel, like the video, enable notifications. Let me know what you thought of Amazing Spider-Man number 25 in the comments below. Let's start things out with the credits and the recap as we usually do. Amazing Spider-Man number 25 is written by Zeb Wells. Pencils by Carrie Andrews and John Romita Jr., so Carrie Andrews jumping in here. Inks by Carrie Andrews and Scott Hanna, colors by Marcelo Menez, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. Here is the recap. A mad mathematician named Benjamin Rabin, and every time I read a mad mathematician, it makes me giggle that the big bad in this book is a mad mathematician. I'm actually going to go and write my story about the angry actuary, or maybe even a spiteful statistician. I think both of those would be pretty good. A mad mathematician named Benjamin Rabin trapped Peter and Mary Jane in an alternate dimension. When MJ chose to save Peter rather than herself, Peter knew time was of the essence to save her. Unable to take the time to explain herself, Spider-Man was forced to work with the one person who would help him, no questions asked, Norman Osborn. With no time to build their technology from the ground up, Spider-Man chose to steal important and dangerous parts from the likes of the Fantastic Four and Moon Girl. Moon Girl. For a brief moment, the ends seemed to justify the means when Peter arrived just in the nick of time to save MJ. But Peter learned that time moved much more rapidly in this dimension, and in the untold years Peter was gone, MJ had made a family with the mysterious Paul. This is her story, and if you've been paying attention, they have been pushing that this issue 25 and then 26 will be the big things that'll change everything. Yeah, that's kind of going to be issue number 26. And by the way, Moon Girl, where did that come from? But here we go. Let's get into this. So right off the bat, I'll tell you, we do get some answers in this issue. But most of it, like I've been saying for issues now, it's just filling in these little blanks that I think most readers had probably filled in already. Mary Jane was stuck in this dimension for years. She lost hope that Peter was ever going to return, fell in love with Paul, right? Paul. There are some twists, though. We find out the kids were orphans that Mary Jane and Paul found and raised, and we get to see what looks like the origins of Mary Jane's new powers that I think most people have chosen to kind of ignore. They kind of want to not admit that those are really a thing. And so the whole play here, though, is finding out the twist. Okay, the kids aren't really theirs. Mary Jane did not give birth to these. You see a little light at the end of the tunnel there, but I don't want to see any kids die, right? So that's crazy. But also, you're making this kind of like a shocking twist, but it's only shocking because you set it up to be that way by making the kids look exactly like Mary Jane. I mean, the chances, right? So you're really kind of just showing us stuff that you set up to be a dupe. And that isn't the greatest thing, but it's okay. We see this stuff happening. Now, all of that, I thought that maybe seeing this stuff might actually make me start to feel a little bit for Paul, but I really don't care either way about Paul any more or less than I already did. And still a lot of this stuff, like the girl's name and the things going on, it feels like Zeb Wells is actually playing catch up to other books. And you're going to have to, because he let this story sit for so long that things even like Mary Jane's powers, all these things, this book, Amazing Spider-Man, which should be the big book, is actually catching up to things, even its own self. And it felt a little off. It made the story not feel as big as I expected it to feel. Now, by the end of the issue, Peter does rescue Mary Jane, Paul, and the kids. But the way the story was set up, we knew that had to happen, since this is all taking place in the past. And that's one of the big things about it, is that all of this taking place in the past makes you realize, if you really think about it, that not a lot of this really matters. Yeah, you're getting some answers, you're getting some story beats. That's fine. Every book needs that. But overall, you're not going to end up getting any sort of shocks like, oh my God, I thought this, that, or the other thing. We've already seen in the present, the Scribble Man has returned and everybody in this story is still alive, at least that. And that's where this all leaves us. So remember, in the present day of the story, Mary Jane and Peter were tagged and whisked away by the quote-unquote Scribble Man to what is probably that alternate dimension, though it looked a lot worse for wear. But that's the place to be for the actual story and some progression. And we're going to have to wait till issue 26 for that. When you really think about it, and I hadn't really been centering on it because I want to see what's going on. I'm desperately trying to grab onto anything that I can enjoy here. But I kind of lost track of, this is just, we're really filling in the blanks. We're really catching up, finding out why everybody hates Peter. That's a miserable thing, right? Also finding out why Mary Jane isn't going to be with Peter because she is. And that's miserable. Everything is. And going back to what I said earlier, I can't really point out that one thing that is technically wrong with this issue, especially things like art, are very subjective. But when I got done reading the issue, I felt miserable. I kind of feel like, I don't want to make it too big a thing, but as a comic book reader and a comic book lover and somebody who really wants to get onto this Spider-Man stuff, I just kind of felt dead inside. And I'm sure it's even worse for people who have been just desperately waiting and hoping that Peter and MJ will finally get together. And it's not even that, not even just get together. At least be friends, right? At least have each other for, anything. So it's just so weird, but I'm left wondering why Marvel thinks this is a good idea. And so with that misery, and really most of the time that I do give scores, it's more of a gut feeling type deal. I don't sit there. I'm not the mad mathematician here going through the calculations of each and that. It's a gut feeling. And so the gut feeling here, I'm still miserable. But I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10, which is a bit higher than my recent scores. I think it might be the Stockholm Syndrome is finally sinking in. I think I'm starting to fall in love with my captor here. But hopefully, maybe the idea that MJ and Peter are off in that dimension, maybe we'll get some wonky time play because of that. And then at the end of all this, things can get better? I don't know. I don't know really what we're going to get out of this. Obviously, I don't know, but I just want this book to not make me miserable when I'm reading it. I want it to make me happy. I want to have fun reading it, not just get done and close it. And everybody has to be like, they close it and you give this like sigh. It's like letting out the dark energy. Let it out, let it flow out. That's how I am at the end. And there you go. So 6 out of 10. I'm sure that's going to be a little higher than some people, but I don't know. I just kind of want to get off this ride. Jane, get out of here. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see how it ends. Obviously, next issue, number 26, is the big one. Again, it'll change everything. They say that all the time, but it just may. Hopefully, it'll change everything for the better. Maybe by the end of an Amazing Spider-Man issue, I will have a smile on my face. I don't smile a lot. I like when it happens. I like to read. One of the reasons I read comics, I am dead inside normally. I don't need that from a book. So hopefully, maybe some people like this more than get us all fired up. But let me know what you think. Don't get mad at anybody who likes it more or less than you. We're all in it together. We're all fighting the same fight, okay? With that, though, I'll talk to you all later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is is the revolution.